Cool. So just help me understand your investigation for the audience, people who don't know what you've done.
Yeah.
Just take your time and help us understand.
Yeah. So it's actually about the loophole in our electoral process. There have been like elections after elections. When the results come out, the opposition parties raise a lot of questions on the EVMs. But this was the first time when we are saying that, maybe we don't know yet, like if EVMs are a problem or not, but we don't. Nobody has the evidence to prove that.
Okay.
But there's something where there is a lack in our electoral process, and it's actually not for now we can't say EVMs, but it's the voter list. So that's what I was investigating. So voter list is like a fluid document. It contains the name of all the voters in particularly residing in that area or in that booth, close to that booth. So it's a fluid document because the number of voters get added and deleted every year, or maybe I can say every 6 months. So when a voter gets added, it's like if somebody who has just recently turned 18 in that area, or maybe if a woman is married to a guy and she's recently shifted to that area, so her name would also be added to the voter list of that booth. And deletion happens usually in 2 to 3 cases. One is like either you're dead and your name has to be removed then, and then the other case is like if you have moved from suppose Delhi to Rajasthan for some workplace, for some work related reasons, or for anything, then you'll have to apply for a deletion, or basically shifting of your voter rolls from Delhi to Rajasthan or Delhi to wherever you're moving to. So that's the another case where your names get deleted from the voter list. And the third is that when if there's some mistake in the voter list, or if there's some mistake in your in your epic number or in your name, or you want to get it corrected, so that's the another reason, that's the another case where it gets deleted. So it's like very clear that these are the 2 or 3 instances where addition of a voter will take place or a deletion of voter will happen. So how we started was, I remember I was like in 2023 I had traveled to Karnataka, and I was in Raichur, which is like really far flung, not far flung, but it's in northern Karnataka, and it's one of the most backward districts of our country, and it's in the top 100. So I was there, and I was sitting outside a booth, and on that day the voting was taking place for the Karnataka Assembly elections 2023, and I was sitting outside the booth, and it was predominantly a Muslim booth. And then I saw that so many people who were turning up to vote, they were said no, that on the booth they had suddenly found that when they had reached the booth to cast their vote, they had suddenly found that their vote has been deleted. And it was shocking to me. I was like, how is this possible? And it was not just like 1 or 2 cases, some human error by the election commission. It was like, I think some 30 people were turned away from voting, and that's a big number because a booth usually has some 800 to 2,000 people. And then I noticed a similar thing while I was covering the Lok Sabha elections. I was in Delhi outside some booth in Malve Nagar and just reporting, like trying to report on what actually people are going to vote for and trying to understand the voters. And then I saw the same thing. So I thought that, what if there is some loophole that in our electoral process, what if, any political party can make use of that, can exploit that to get your vote deleted, just because they know that because of the identity or your caste, socioeconomic, or your religious identity you're coming from, they know that you're less likely to vote for them, so they might get your name deleted because because they want to benefit from that, want to be benefited. So that was the idea we started with. And then
So थोड़ा बहुत आपकी जो constituencies थी, जो 3 constituencies थी, फरुखाबाद,
मेरठ and Chandni Chowk,
if you can just talk about कि वहाँ पे आपके क्या findings थी, and
so that's what we found. So we just wanted to explore the loopholes in the electoral system, but then it's a very wide topic, and usually journalists are like, we as journalists you need to have a solid lead, and then you have to follow that, and then it will get corroborated. But this was not the case here. We had just started with a big idea. We didn't know whether we'll be successful or not. So first what we did was, the big challenge was to find out how many votes get added and deleted in a particular constituency. So I don't know, but you'll be surprised to know that we don't have this kind of a data assembly wise or even booth wise. Like the election commission doesn't just make it public. It's not that transparent.
What about Form 20 and Form 17?
Form 20 is I think it's about the number of votes polled and cast.
Okay.
So it's usually just shared with the candidates. But it's not like if you log into the Election Commission of India's website, you'll find this kind of a data right in front of your eyes. No, it doesn't happen like that. So we were like really struggling with that, how to come up with numbers to to corroborate what we have been thinking, or so I just happened to talk to one of the Congress workers in Chandni Chowk, and he told me that this was the first election where 186 voters were deleted from his booth, and that booth happened to be of Congress. That booth happened to be the neighborhood of the Congress candidate. I suppose he was, if I'm not forgetting his name, Mr. Agarwal.
Okay.
And he's a popular candidate.
Okay.
And it was his area where his family has been living from years, and all the neighbors do support him. And this guy told me that, ma'am, this is the first time I've never seen this kind of deletions. Just imagine when a voter list which is being updated every year, and suddenly 186 voters are deleted. So then I was surprised. I asked him that, how do you know it's exactly 186? So he said that, oh, that's very easy. You just have to get the voter list, and in the voter list at the end, on the end page of the voter list, there is a table which says that these are the total electors on that booth. These are the additions. These are the number of voters who have been deleted. So from there you'll get the data. But again, that's the booth-wise data. So a constituency would usually have like thousands of booths. So how do you get it? So then I asked him, then he told me that voter list is publicly available on the Election Commission of India's website. But the only challenge is to download each voter list, you have to enter a captcha code. And entering a captcha code, and then the download process usually takes some 8 to 10 minutes for one booth. So that means if you want to download data, just to download for like a constituency, it will take like 2 to 3 days manually. So, but then we were like, okay, let's just give it a try and then see if what we are thinking is right or not. So when we started doing that, we did it for Chandni Chowk Lok Sabha constituency. It has 10 assembly segments. And we saw a very clear pattern which was coming out, that the Muslim dominated area in the Lok Sabha, which is the Chandni Chowk assembly, had 3 times higher number of deletions than a Hindu, specifically upper caste Hindu dominated area, Punjabi upper caste, I think, which was Adarsh Nagar. So and we were like, I mean, how is it possible when the change in the migration population, I mean, I mean, there's no like big incident that has happened in Chandni Chowk assembly, like something like COVID has happened there, and and other assemblies were immune to that. It is not like that. I mean, everybody's like, I mean, or maybe in Chandni Chowk assembly, some mass demolitions have happened for which a lot of people had to leave the place. So these were not the cases. So we were like really shocked by the numbers, and then we thought that, okay, this is just one assembly, one Lok Sabha.
बहुत concentrated area से बहुत specific
targeting था, yeah. Okay. So then we wanted to expand that, because I mean, we have like about 500 parliamentary constituencies, and then we were like, we need to go for at least like like to corroborate what we are thinking, we need to expand it. So what we decided, we came up with a methodology that we'll take up 3 parliamentary constituencies where the BJP, in this case we have to take the BJP because at the end of the day, like they were the incumbent government, and the Election Commission of India is in is functioning under them. So not under them, it's like it's part of the
understood.
Yeah. So we thought that we'll randomly pick one assembly constituency where the winning margin was like less than 0.5% of vote share, and then another where it was between 0.5 to 1%, and then one where it was Chandni Chowk where it is like quite high. So, and These were three. So it was like Meerut, Farrukhabad, and Chandni Chowk.
This was a methodology.
This was the methodology, yeah. And then we looked, we did the same uh, drill with Meerut and Farrukhabad, like Chandni Chowk, and we found a similar pattern. Like
Yeah, so this is something which can be
from three randomly picked Lok Sabhas.
Seems similar to a randomized control trial.
Sorry, I would not know randomized control trial because we.
So essentially, what I want to understand is there's something which can be proven, right? Because lots of opposition parties they say EVM tampering हो रही है.
Yeah.
But this, if you go through this voter list में manipulation कहीं ना कहीं हो रहा है, this can be proved.
Exactly, and
But
EVMs can't be proven.
So,
I mean, maybe there is some proof somewhere, but we don't know about that yet.
But this is something which can be substantiated.
Yeah.
Did your findings lead to the conclusion that in constituencies where BJP has a very limited margin of victory, or a very narrow margin of victory, they were able to swing those.
It was Meerut and Farrukhabad. I think the winning margin for the BJP in Farrukhabad was
10,000 voters.
2,600 voters. Yeah. In Meerut, it was about 10,000.
10,000 voters.
So the number of deletions were like way high. In Farrukhabad, it was about, I think, 60,000 if I'm not wrong. And
32,000 voters were removed.
Yeah, 32,000.
And around 1 lakh new voters were there.
So
bogus voters were added in Meerut.
Yeah. So why this kind of a discrepancy or manipulation of voter list has the chances to swing an election is because if you will just look at Farrukhabad, the BJP candidate there won by just 2,678 something, a small number. Yeah. And when I hit the ground, I found that in Farrukhabad, the highest number of voters were deleted from Aliganj Assembly constituency. So Aliganj has always been a strong bastion of Samajwadi Party because of its because of the demography of the voters. Like they are mostly Muslims and Yadavs. And for Aliganj, because it had the highest rate of vote deletion, and there were like a lot of booths where I saw that the rate of votes deleted at those booths were about some 12 or 8%. And Election Commission says that it should not be more than 4%. And in every year, because the voter lists are updated every year. So, and in the booths, there were some 40 booths where the deletion rate was between 8 to 12%. And all those booths had like Muslim and Yadav as dominant voters.
So, even Shakyas
as well. Yeah, Shakyas as well.
Okay. So, usi research mein, I think I read ki some election official admitted ki kahin na kahin there was some pressure from the BJP. MLA.
Yeah, it was there. So, I mean, this was like so far what I have told you is about like is the other things we can corroborate through numbers. But then when we hit the ground, we saw that the opposition party told me that, Samajwadi Party, they told me that the BJP's MLA from Aliganj, Satpal Singh Rathod, had also submitted a letter to the election, to the DM, who's the ERO, Electoral Registration Register Officer from that area, had submitted a letter saying that, like these are the booths where a lot of fake voters are there, so their names have to be deleted. So the thing is, 6 months before Lok Sabha or any election or assembly election, the Election Commission of India's rule is that mass deletions cannot take place, because even if there are fake voters, or even if like there are a lot of people who don't reside there or who are dead, but the votes can't be deleted because they don't want to risk the right of voting for anyone. So for this MLA to give a letter which in the run up to the elections is not something, I mean, he can. I mean, all political parties have the right to raise questions on the voter list. But for him to do that and then the district administration to also implement it, that too quickly, says a lot.
But isn't there a process ki, they send someone to investigate?
Yeah. There is. So if an MLA or anybody from any political parties
There's
has
a BLO
raised a question, about the voter list, what they have to do is the district administration, they'll submit that list to the booth level officers. Then the booth level officers have to visit the area, have to visit the houses on houses of the voters on whose votes their questions have been raised, and then it's at least. That's the process which takes at least 2 to 3 weeks. But in this case, it was, I think, done within a couple of days. They had executed the order. And when I spoke to the booth level officers, they told me that, they themselves, like on record, they told me that they have never deleted so many votes in the run up to elections. And it was purely because they were under a lot of pressure from this MLA. And there were especially Muslim booth level officers, women booth level officers who were telling me that, like after this letter from the MLA, there was so much pressure on them that the district administration would call them at 10 or 11 at night from far-flung villages to get this order executed, and they had no option but to go out with their husbands. And it was quite bad for them.
So, like, what was the most striking pattern जो आपने observe किया, like, in your research?
Striking pattern,
like something which was कि this is something which we have to इसको investigate further, हम वो करना पड़ेगा because something might be going wrong here.
I mean, one thing which we have not been able to know yet is the scale of this, because we were limited to only 3 parliamentary constituencies. We don't know the scale of it. The other is, I think,
so you don't know कि कितना widespread है ये?
Because if you look at 2024 Lok Sabha elections, it's like very interesting. There are a lot of parliamentary constituencies which were won by any of the party with a very small margin. And if it has happened on all those in all those constituencies, then maybe we would have had a different result of the Lok Sabha election. Maybe a different political party was ruling the country right now.
Point पे, I want to bring in Professor Sabyasachi's paper, because he mentions कि जहाँ पे भी BJP is contesting elections बहुत closely, pattern जहाँ पे observe होता है कि they end up winning the election, जहाँ पे भी they're contesting very closely with the opposition. So this pattern, जहाँ पे the opposition margin is very low. But the pattern is that the votes going mostly to the BJP and they're winning the seats.
And they have been winning more closely contested seats. I think he was like spot on.
It cannot be ignored for just a coincidence, because it's a pattern. Something more that's happening.
We also saw that, I mean, from his paper only, Sabyasachi's paper only, and I think it was like a terrific paper if his paper was not there. I mean, it was kind of an anchor to the kind of stories we have done. I mean, there were a lot of questions which were being raised on his paper, but then that was like, it is yet to be peer reviewed, I guess. But that was an important work. And the other thing is, what his paper pointed out was, which was very interesting. He said that, it's not the EVMs. It is, it is either the use of police on the polling day or for voter suppression, or it's maybe the manipulation of voter lists. So he was, I think, the first one to point everybody's attention towards that direction. And there's a lot of things which in his paper which I feel needs to be investigated. I think somewhere in his paper was like he had found a pattern that in Muslim-dominated segments of an assembly constituency, what he had found out that most votes were going to the BJP, and which is like against the laws of politics.
There's something which even
needs to be investigated.
Right, that जहाँ पे that areas जहाँ पे mostly the votes go to, for example, backward communities, which tend to vote for, probably Congress. वहाँ पे there's a swing towards the BJP. Something even which
something on that lines. But see, it's I mean, I would like to point this out. It's not the BJP. I mean, the loopholes in the electoral process can be manipulated by any political party if they are in power. And therefore, we need to be fixing those gaps. So that should be our job. I mean, for example, in Meerut, what we had found out was it was not the deletions, but it was the addition of voters. And on 2 booths, we had found there were like some 27% fake voters.
And also 1 lakh voters were added.
Yeah, 1 lakh voters were added. Yeah.
That's
so,
almost like.
Is this an example of gerrymandering?
So like,
I think that was different, right?
Okay, were you carving up constituencies?
Yeah.
Again, based on demographies. The practice that has been done
in US.
In the US also. I mean, all of these practices call into question the integrity of the elections.
Yeah, could be, because I mean, as I said, we need to know the scale of this. I mean, because we are Newslaundry is a very small team. It's just like 7 reporters, and
also as you mentioned, कि Merit में there was additional voters that were added. Like 1 lakh voters were added. That's almost like 5%.
5%, yeah. And the rule says that, sorry, I think for deletion it was 2%, and for addition it should not be more than 4%. And 1 lakh voters were added. We don't know about whether these voters who were added were genuine or not. But we could find out that on 2 booths there were at least 27% fake voters.
336 bogus voters.
Yeah, and that's booths. A big number.
Yeah.
And on these 2 booths, I think we found out that from 2014 it's the BJP which has always been in getting the majority of the votes. So that's not a small number.
So do you think that any particular voter demographics is affected, disproportionately? Like for example,
I think I would say Muslims.
Okay.
From Meerut to Farrukhabad to Chandni Chowk.
Yeah.
I mean, in UP, it also depends from state to state. Like in UP, you'll also have like Yadav voters, which would not be that dominant in a constituency in Delhi. But Muslims was one voter demography which was like affected, no matter which state they are coming in.
Also, do you think this voter manipulation disproportionately also affects opposition strongholds? Like, उन areas में जहाँ पे opposition का stronghold है, वहाँ पे, this voter manipulation happens, voter suppression happens, which tends to affect the voter, the election results.
Yeah. So I can't say this because we don't know the scale of it, as I said. But yeah. So with this story, I think we could only point out at the loopholes of the electoral system.
And is it limited to certain states or again?
That's what I would want to know. I mean, if so I was like talking to one of my friends who's a political scientist in Berkeley, and we have been trying to brainstorm this, if this is something which is widespread across India, or is it just across all the states, or is it just specific to Hindi belt? So so for this voter list manipulation to happen, a lot of things needs to be in the favor of the political party which is trying to do that. Like the first is you need to have some sort of a say in the Election Commission of India. The other is that you need to have
strong on
ground presence, and the third is the district administration. If the district administration is not complying with you, so then you cannot execute it. Complying with the political party, whoever wants to do this. So if the district administration is not with you, then you cannot do that. So I would want to know what is happening in Karnataka and Kerala.
Well, let's say in Maharashtra.
Sorry, Kerala or Tamil Nadu.
Even during Maharashtra elections.
Yeah.
Right now,
a lot of questions are being raised by the Congress
in
about the additions.